feel like it happened a long time ago, and I don't know how to turn it off. So
Oh, yeah. Well, how do I
if it's
sound?
there, it's there. If not,
All right, let
I'm
me
trying to
get,
figure.
we are recording, by the way. Let me talk to the camera here as we're getting our shit together here.
Okay.
Camera's going. Allison McClintick's with me. I'm going to call this one Enlightenment Involves Awareness because I have, and I think you can play with that. I know you can. As a matter of,
Yeah.
it's been a while. Let me find my other boxes here, you guys. While I'm recording this video, I got to find my, there it is. It's all this tech, baby. It's all this tech because I do all my own production stuff now. So now when I save these files, I send them over to, I export them. I do the MP3s and we put them in a folder and we send them to our producer. That was kind of a big jump for us to get all that, but it gives me the flexibility to record whenever I want to record and wherever I want to record. So that's that. How you doing? Nice to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you. I'm doing good.
Nice setup there. I like it. I like it. I knew you'd have that. Let me silence my phone, even though it never stays silent. It's just a pain in my ass.
And I put a focus do not disturb on, but now I can't turn it off. So I have no idea how to do that. That's
Go back.
lovely.
Oh, I had a student teach me how to do that. You go back into your focus and you just click the button again.
Okay.
See that?
Yeah, it doesn't. I'll have to look it up online.
iPhone?
Yeah.
Just drag down your all your settings where the airplane is, your volume, do not disturb, and just click the button.
On
And
focus?
yep, on focus. And then click the button and click the button again, and it'll go off.
It's not doing it.
Huh? Huh?
Nope.
I've only had this iPhone for about a year, so I never really wanted to get one, but I'm glad I did because that's what I record all the video on now. And so
Yeah. It's all
okay,
right. I'll look it up.
it's fine. Okay, you ready? I need you for now.
Yeah.
Oh,
Let's do it.
we'll plug your whatever you want to plug. Fifth segment, 5 segments. First segment, this is your life. Each segment has a read except for the fifth because that's when we do our reads for me and for you. So that's how that works. And so we got about 2 minutes of each segment will be me pumping somebody up.
Okay.
We got 3 really good sponsors and it's helping us, stay in business. I
Cool.
didn't damn date on your original 2 visits. I have your folder. The last time you were here, I have this flight leader development. Well,
Yeah, it's a long time ago.
yeah, exactly. Long time
Mhm.
ago. So it's all good. We're going to be hitting a home run here. And let's do this thing. Here we go. You will not hear music. I do. Just FYI. It's the same music that we'll hear when the recording session is all produced and all that good stuff. So if I give you this, Allison, this, we're getting close.
Okay.
Because I'll, me, I get wordy and I'll give you that. I'll give you a leading question and with no time. And that's not real cool for the host to do that kind of stuff. So I try to do my best. Let's go here. Welcome everyone to this week's episode of the Tom Matt Show. So happy to be here with all of you. And thank you so much for joining us either on the podcast or on the radio broadcast or on the stream or however you're picking this up. YouTube video. We're trying to do it all. And it seems to be working because it's happening. All right. Last week, Dr. Mitchell Kliansky was with us. And I tell you what, dementia prevention, wound up getting the book, the digital version of his book, the long story short here, everybody, got the digital version of the book to prep for the interview. And because Dr. Mitch and I, we became fast friends. He's a super cool guy. And as I was going through the digital book, getting ready for the interview, I asked Sandy, I said, we need this print version because this book is like a playbook for the dementia, Alzheimer's condition prevention. And so ordered that, posted it up on LinkedIn, gave him a thank you for that, and it's all good. So that book is well worth your time and money for sure. At least listen to that podcast and then make the decision, or watch the recap that I do. Okay, this week, longtime friend, out of who knows where's she been for the last 10 years of my life? I don't know. Allison McClintick has been with us a long time ago. Used to go to Allisons speaking engagements. She's an outstanding speaker. She's done tons of that kind of stuff. She's a really great coach. Done many things. Non-traditional student, which I completely, how much I adore people who are non-traditional students. Just stand with it. PhD, master's, bachelor's, leadership development for over 15 years, mom, just the whole 9 yards. I mean, she's done everything. And the bolded type of her little bio to read into this thing, because she knows how we do this. She sees herself as an energy in, energy out person. That's why I'm calling this episode Enlightenment Involves Awareness, because if you're not aware of what the heck's going on out there, how are you making decisions? She's a leadership and influence and energy out, intentional energy directed at others. I like that. Psychology and energy, or correct me if I'm wrong, Allison, noetic sciences?
That's right.
Oh, okay. Got it. Okay. Noetic sciences or psychoneuroimmunology, and that is a mouthful, is intentional energy directed internally. Okay. We'll let her talk about all this stuff. But before we go down that road, talking about enlightenment involves awareness. Want to catch up with my old friend from back in the day when we first started this radio program a long time. That's a cool thing about bringing people out of the wherever they've been.
Out of the ether.
Yeah, whatever you want to call it, graduate school, post-secondary fellowship stuff, all kinds of good stuff. I want to welcome back to the radio program in the Tom Matt Show version, Allison McClintick. Allison, so nice to see you. So nice to hear your voice. How are you?
I'm great, Tom. Thanks so much for having me back. It has been a long time. Lots gone on.
I'm glad
Always
you.
a story.
Yeah, of course. Well, let's get caught up on the stories. But I'm so happy that you reached out, and it's been so long. And I apologize for we know what happens with busyness and
Sure.
kids and all of that, moving around. You got a lot of things to share with people here in the Mid-Michigan area. A lot of people around here know you or will remember you from all of your work because
Yeah.
you're pretty out there. Go ahead, share with the listeners, the viewers, what you've been up to for the last, I don't know, 10 years or so that I haven't seen yet.
Oh man. Well, life is funny. We were living in the mid-Michigan area, as you know, and I was hitting the leadership development really hard and was so blessed to have a really successful business in that facilitation realm, coaching and consulting and keynote stuff. I was making conference rounds a lot.
Yep.
But as you know, that's a lot of hard work. I mean, you have to show up and be at a particular place. People are waiting for you. Can't have a sick day, can't have a sick kid. So I decided to take a little bit of a hiatus from that particular realm of things and kind of dig into a little bit more into that energy in focus, and decided to, go after my PhD in psychoneuroimmunology. It's in psychology, but psychoneuroimmunology was the main focus. And we moved down to the Oakland County area, and then COVID hit. And it was like, wow, we are going to have to redefine what I'm doing entirely. So it took a couple of years where I can just kind of focus on my education and the research I want to do, and then kicked the coaching and consulting back into gear and leaving the facilitation keynote speaking behind, take some of that pressure off. So I've been digging into some weird, cool stuff. And I've just been incorporating that back into how I service people, and I'm loving life. I'm having a lot of fun.
I like weird, cool stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm a weird, cool stuff proponent. I'm all
Well, I
about it.
mean, yeah, that's where you find most of the golden nuggets, about what's really going on out there, and feeding your brain, keeping that curiosity going. Because I think, like, as we get into that retirement zone era, we have a tendency, sometimes I feel like, to be a little less curious than we were when we were younger. And I think in order to keep that energy up and keep our brains firing, your curiosity has to keep rolling. So getting into weird, cool stuff will do that if you're open-minded.
I'm totally down with it. I mean, I appreciate you saying, when you go into the refinement zone, because you're a perfect example. Another perfect example of you don't have to be like the point in my life where I am. Refinement can happen at any time. And so you just need to embrace the whole concept of refiring. And again, as I said before, everybody, retiring is fantastic. You can go ahead and do
Mhm,
all that thing, but I guarantee you there's going to come a point where you're going to look at yourself and you're going to go, I need more. I need more. I
mhm.
need to do something more. As you stay more engaged, like listening to Dr. Mitch on the previous episode about Alzheimer's dementia prevention,
Yeah.
one of the big things is socialization. You need to be
Yes.
like we're right, Alice. I mean, you're a psychology person. We'll get into all of that here with the energy and the weird, cool stuff. I want to hear about the kids. I want to hear about your husband. I want to hear about that life skill because we got about 3 minutes to go before we go to break, just FYI.
Yeah.
But the story about your son and the school with all of
Yeah.
that was very interesting. And your daughter's story is very compelling as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
So go
So
ahead, take,
probably,
if we don't
yeah,
finish, we'll come back.
that's fine. Yeah, most interesting probably is like in the development in the last 5 years or so, my daughter had developed cancer in 2018, and we navigated through that. And there's so many amazing lessons that came with that particular experience. I mean, at the time that it happened, it's and we'll get into constructs later, hopefully. But if you buy into the construct that cancer is chaos, and often it is, and it can be bad news often. But there's also this other element that you have to take control of the way that you choose to look at what's happening to you, and so we both really saw the opportunity for that and have so many amazing lessons as a result. And then yeah, my son, I mean, I'm an open person. I'm a very spiritual person, but I never really subscribed to any kind of religious dogma. But after COVID, we enrolled my son into a Catholic school that went into school in person right in August of 2020. They just kind of sailed along with no real issues. And it's been interesting because I've always been a lifelong resistant person to organized dogma of any kind. And so to get into Catholicism was like not just sticking your toe in the pool, is like throwing the whole body in. And it's been so cool. It's just been really the neatest thing. And so yeah, I mean that's been really fun to navigate that and to feel like it's been more for me. He's learning some really great values and really kind of grounding in a really cool way that I didn't see coming. But for me, it's really opened the door for me to continue asking really important questions. And so, I've just been really inspired by that. And then my husband, he's taken a couple new jobs, and he's always solid.
Well, that's the whole thing with it, with
He's
our
the most peaceful one of us all, but not
yeah.
the not always with the most interesting stories, but he's amazing.
When you're a high performer and you're really like a type A personality, like you and I are both the same, and then we have a spouse that is supportive of that mentality, things work.
Yeah,
It's when it's when you have two type A's kind of getting together and it's like
right.
too much bouncing around here. I'm going to close this out here because we're going to go to break here. Allison McClintick's with us, everybody. Recap here. Enlightenment involves awareness. We're going to be all over the place today with energy, feeding your brain, talking about all kinds of cool things. You're listening to the Tom Mann Show. And that
That is that.
just easy stuff. Move that over there and let me get to my read, and away we go. Yeah, we're going to Wisconsin tomorrow, and we're supposed to get 3 to 5 inches of snow on Friday
Oh,
here.
geez.
Yeah, and
Oh,
then
jeez.
an inch or three in Wisconsin. So it's like,
Drive safe.
yeah, exactly. Because they always say, "Oh, no snow," and then we've had that happen several times. And the many times we've driven over there, it's just like, and it's just there's a stretch through 41 that runs through from Milwaukee up to the Fox Valley. Oh, it
Scary stuff.
can be horrible. Here we go. This segment of the Tom Mann Show is sponsored by Craig Styles, Ameriprise Financial. Sandy was just on the phone with them. We're changing this stuff up. We just went and had our taxes done, and we had to move a few things around to kind of, because we're still figuring out the actual retirement zone mechanics of all of our money and how we do all of these things, it's a little complicated. That's why we want Craig to manage all of our stuff, because we have these other things to do, like radio programming and digital communication and all this. Talking to my friends like Allison McClintick, who is our guest today, our Ameriprise financial advisor, and I hope it's going to be yours as well. Craig Stiles, one of the most honest, if not the most honest guy you'll ever meet in your life. 11 children, all homeschooled. All of them are just so successful. They're all going in different directions. Some of them go to college. Some of them are going into trades. Some of them are tiny little kids. I mean, when you got 11 of them, what do? You keep working. And his life is brilliant because with the right financial advisor, life can be brilliant, as their tagline says. Call Craig 1-800-528-1355. 517-483-4893 is the local number. Email craig.stiles@ampf.com. Offices are located 2400 Lake Lansing Road, Suite B is in Bism, or brilliant Lansing, Michigan 48912. Over by the Eastwood Town Center. If you know Mid-Michigan, that's where he's at. But the thing is don't worry. With all three of our sponsors, they're nationally connected all over the place. They have people everywhere. So if you're hearing this podcast, radio stream, however you're picking it up, and you're in Florida or you're in Texas or you're in California or wherever, just reach out to Craig. Send him an email, send us a note on our contact box, whatever you want to do, and he will definitely take your call, and he will give you the best advice you can get. You need honesty in your life. He's the guy that you want to talk to. Radio stations that have carried us in the past carry us still all over the place. Broadcast radio is a very strange animal, but we love it. So I'd like to mention all the stations that have carried us, because I'm grateful. I'm totally grateful to be on. If you carried me for 1 week, I'm good. WGHN 92.1 FM in Grand Haven's always first, because they were the first ones on broadcast radio to carry us. WGIM 1240 AM in Lansing is the flagship of the Michigan Talk Network, where we are syndicated all over the Midwest. WJRW 1340 AM Grand Rapids carried us for a long time. WKLQ 1490 Muskegon Whitehall. WYPV FM 94.5 up in Mackinac City, and all of the stations that are in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, reaching out to all of you out there. And of course, we have our flamethrower PBS affiliate at Michigan State University, WKAR News Talk, AM 870 and 102.3 FM on the simulcast. Thank you to Craig Stiles for creating Decideri Analytics, which is his proprietary algorithm, and that's what puts him over the top with making all of these decisions. They are making light of weighted decisions for us. And I'm very, very grateful to Craig. Lastly, I want to say thank you to Steve and Ivy Gruber. Appreciate them so much. They're awesome people. Listen to Steve Gruber. He's one of the smartest people around. His wife is even smarter. They've carried us on the Michigan Talk Network for 5-6 years now. They own the Michigan Talk Network, and we are, again, grateful for that. And we have 4 books on Amazon, that thing called Amazon. Please go check those out. All right, Allison McClintick's here. I want to get back to Allison quickly because she's got a lot to say. Enlightenment involves awareness. Now, Allison, I made a note on your bullets that you sent over for our conversation today. The first one was wake up, but I made a note while you were talking about your daughter and how you learned that journey of the cancer, and I'm like, how much of a wake up call was that for you, and how can we apply that? You see where I'm going with that? Can you kind of share that, and what was that all about? Because your daughter was young.
Yeah, I mean, she was 20 years old when she started to have symptoms, and just turned 21 when she was diagnosed on Valentine's Day of all days. Yeah, I think one of the things and it kind of goes along with some of the bullet points that I had put with one of the things for peace, right, is what everybody wants is peace. And in order to get that, you have to really wake up. And that's a good example of what happened there. Is I quickly learned that we have constructions, these beliefs, these intricate beliefs about everything. And we sort of buy into those things, and we don't necessarily question them until all of a sudden your back's up against the wall. And then you realize, wait a minute, here's what I'm being told. This is what everybody says about cancer. This is what everybody feels about it. And when you tell someone my daughter has cancer, you get a certain response back, which is feeding into, this influence on how you're going to feel about it. And you have to work really hard to pause, like record scratch, pull the needle off the record and figure out, wait a second, what am I really thinking here? How is this impacting the way I feel? And how am I going to challenge what everybody says about this particular thing to make this work in our favor? And so we really worked on that. We realized that we didn't want to buy into this idea that we have to put all of our authority as far as what we do into a doctor, that we have to be questioning how what we put into her body is going to help support her immune system. And when you start researching that stuff, they don't always have those answers. They don't always have that same information. I'd have to lean on one of your prior guests, Angela Joseph, who is amazing, nutrition expert, in my opinion. We worked with her immediately where she put us on like a particular diet and stuff. But the long and the short of it is that we decided that instead of saying we're going to rely on these particular people to tell us how this is going to go, we're going to challenge what we are told about certain things and take control of it and decide what we're going to believe in. And so that's a whole nother show we could devote to that. But essentially, with Rowan's condition and her progress, she was phenomenal. She actually said it was the best summer of her life, and she had to do 12 chemo sessions. And I mean, the things that she did, the way that she fed her body, the gratitude practice she had, the stuff that she did to keep her grounded and grateful and healthy. People would look at us. We went to U of M, which is a wonderful place. But people in the waiting room would say, "Oh, is this her first day of chemo?" Oh, because she looked so healthy, and she looked had was laughing in there with her friends, and people are staring at you like, "Why are you happy? You should not be happy in here. This is not a happy place." But really, what we were doing is just trying to dictate for our own selves how we were going to go about this. And so we have to wake up and realize that we're being told stuff all the time. Everything is a construction of some kind. And you get to decide what you believe. And you have to question those intricacies of your belief structures to get peace and to move forward in a productive way. That was an incredible example of that. I mean, it was like a smack me in the face kind of wake up, whoa, what are we going to do here? And we just did not want to go down the normal route. And we just didn't right from the word get. So no
You know,
regrets there.
what a great synopsis. Thank you for going there. And I've got other questions to build off of this. You know how we do this radio program.
Yeah.
I'm going to take this through to break because we're going to come up on it here quickly. I want to mention Angela Joseph. And actually, Angela Joseph is going to be our guest next week, and she's
Uh-huh.
coming back. And so anybody that's looking for it,
Great.
that's what we do here. We all support each other. It's funny how that these supportive people find each other and you continue to grow and blossom.
Mhm.
We come back from break. I want to ask Allison about, you've said the word construction several times now, and I want to bounce into that. And also that bounce back that you got from people when you tell them my daughter has cancer, it's all, how are we going to frame this up in our brain, in our minds, so that we accept what we want to accept and you take on, don't buy into
Yeah.
all the hype. We're going to go to break here. Allison McClintick's here. Enlightenment involves awareness. To achieve internal peace, you need to listen to this radio program. You're listening to Tom Mann. Hey, like that, weaving all that together, just knocking this thing.
Such skill.
You're good, and it's like you got to become more regular, and this will help you with whatever you're going to achieve, whatever you want to do. This outreach this way, I felt the same way about. I didn't even want to go down the speaking as a grind thing because that was kind of an area where I wanted to go. But after COVID, same thing. It's like we almost stopped doing the radio program. I mean, we're really close to just like pulling the plug on the whole thing. And we didn't. And I'm glad we didn't. We found a new producer and all of that. And I just realized that, you know, when you get a better attitude about things, and I wasn't so sweating about sponsors and all of that kind of crap. It's like we're reaching more people this way, and
Hmm.
it just get better here and in this space. And if somebody reaches out, and not to say if you're watching this video, everybody, if you want to hire either one of us for speaking, I'm sure we're open to it. The number is the number, and so I'm talking about the cost to hire us in because there is a ton of work, but we both can customize whatever you need. I mean, and you know what we do. So that's that. That's all I'm going to say on that. Here we go. Let's roll. I like talking to the camera in between. I don't know how many people watch this stuff. I didn't think anybody would ever watch a video of a podcast until I started to become a Joe Rogan fan. And it's like, holy shit, you know? And I'm still working on that book because I picked up a couple more books to get going here. But Yeah, the Dr. Phil book is I read some of it this morning. It's like, oh man,
Head on.
we got to take this to heart. He's been taking some gas on that one.
Mhm.
Big. He don't care. That's
Mm-mm.
how I feel. It's like
Mhm.
my
Same.
story is my story. We're going to be doing some marketing with some photos and stuff just to show people, this you can do this. Here's an example. That's that. You got to be willing to put yourself out there.
Hmm.
Let's rock. White Law, Jamie is the sponsor of the third segment of the Tom Matt Show. Thank you so much to Jamie White, Christine White, the whole family over there. Four children, guys, amazing, just amazing. Built his business, and again, as I say a lot of times, because Jamie's relatively new to the show, his first episode with us, where he talked about him getting into the law business, is if you're on the fence about finding an attorney, you need to go listen to that episode on our website, tommattshow.com. Find Jamie White. He's in Spartan Sagas, Success Stories. We may come up with a law dog or law talk or something like that here down the road. But you need to listen to that episode or watch the episode, however you prefer, and just listen for the story of why Jamie got into the law business. I'm just going to leave it there because I've said this a few times before. How impactful, because I had no idea he was going to tell me this. This is what happens with this radio program. We're very, very spontaneous. We may have a couple of talking points, but we go all over the place. White law is where justice meets compassion. Totally. White law is your advocate in times of need. We are here to listen, support, and fight for what you deserve. It's the bottom line. When you need an attorney, you need to find people that you can trust. And again, White Law is connected all over the country. They have a huge network of supporting network of attorneys everywhere in all different categories of the law. So reach out, call them up. White Law Today will give you a free consultation either at whitelawpllc.com. You can call 517-777-9785. You can go to our website, again, tommattshow.com. At the bottom of that website is our sponsors friends area where you can just click right on through. Craig's there, Jamie's there, Brock's there. We've got other people there. I don't even remember how many people. We've got several. And just go there and click through. If you like any of it, away you go. All right, back to today's episode with Allison McClintick. Enlightenment involves awareness. Allison is a long-term friend from way back in the day. We've known each other for long time. And your points are very well stated here, Allison, that what you need to know in order to achieve internal peace. I like that. I kind of glossed over and went right to the wake up point and the bullet on that. And the talk about your daughter, Rowan's cancer in 2018, the bounce back from people. And this is what framing around all of this.
Yeah.
That's sad. I'm so sad. I'm so
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
Please talk about that a little bit because that's where we're going into the next point of the get over it kind of
Yeah.
thing. I'm
Right.
not be harsh here, although
Right.
you told me you told me yourself you've been put on the stage and hired by big corporations, and when you hire Allison, she brings the lumber. I mean, she does not play games.
Yeah, I've been known to be a little abrupt, but that's my thing. I'm a huge accountability freak, and I think sometimes you need somebody who's willing to say the hard stuff and get uncomfortable. I'll say anything. I'm not afraid to be uncomfortable, but some organizations don't want to rock that kind of boat. So that's cool. You look for a different person, that's fine. Yeah, I think constructions is this idea, right, that pretty much other than sort of the natural laws of life, which would be like the fact that we need oxygen to breathe and gravity gets us all, everything else is this construction. It's about psychology. It's the intricacies and complexities of structures of belief. And so everybody's selling something and then these things just get created. And like with my daughter's cancer thing, the construction usually around a child having cancer is that it's tragic, it's heavy, it's panicky, oh no. And Angela, I'll tell you next time. I mean, I jumped on that bandwagon right off the bat because as a parent, who wants to hear that? But really what's so important about that is that it was so disruptive to my ability to feel like I could just feel peaceful, that I could just take a dang breath. And imagine when that's happening, you're throwing your cortisol levels out of whack. You're not making positive chemicals whatsoever. What we believe and what we accept as true is impacting our entire system. And so when you have something like that thrown at you, you have to really challenge that construction. And when you share something with somebody, you have to realize that person is also going to have a particular construction about this context. And then they're going to project it on you. So you have to really protect yourself and catch yourself and wake up to what's directly in front of you. Do you believe it or don't you believe it? Are you going to accept it as true or not? Are you going to buy into it? And then for all things holy, if you're going to take something on, don't be raging against it, and creating counter constructs and things like that, and raging against it or raging for it or whatever, because you're just throwing that internal locus of grounding and peace just all out of whack. And so I think that, when you've got a child with a cancer diagnosis, clearly it is significant, but you have to really control what you're accepting as true, because that is definitely dictating what you're doing going forward. And so that's why wake up to me. If you want internal peace, the first thing you have to realize is that everything is a construct and you're either buying it or rejecting it. And you need to be accountable to what that is and how it's impacting what you do next.
Well, I wrote down rebuttal. If you have your rebuttal in your mind and you are firm in your beliefs, again, getting back to a lot of the things that you taught me back in the day about motivation and the limiting and enabling beliefs, and how I kind of built that into my whole model of, you just got to kick those limiting beliefs out. You just have to be.
Mhm.
I talk to students all the time. Allison McClintick's our guest today. Everybody, enlightenment involves awareness, and I tell the students that the neurolinguistics that we go through, and I say, have you ever heard that term before? And they always say no. And I said, because it's this self-talk that we have constantly going on in our heads is so important. Can you talk about that a little bit? Because that mixes into your wake up and they get over it thing about
Yeah, sure.
that inner voice stuff is so vital. You obviously had some negative inner voice as soon as you had Rowan's diagnosis, and Angela probably helped shake that loose. I know how she is. You two are so
Mhm.
much alike. It's like,
Yeah, she and I get along like peas and carrots. Yeah. Yeah, well, that limiting talk is really, you got to think of it too, like as a science thing, right? So whatever that you're saying to yourself internally, you're enforcing or reinforcing a belief, and you're putting yourself in a particular emotional, psychological state, which has an actual impact. Research shows, and placebo and nocebo research especially, is that whatever you believe tends to come true physically. And so even if you're not talking about a physical ailment, but you believe something that's kind of a lower quality thought, you are generating an endocrine response, right? You're generating a hormonal response. So you're either creating a system that is generating positive hormones and chemicals or negative hormones and chemicals. And so anytime you're in any emotional state whatsoever, your chemical system is a kind of flux. And so you have to really think about, not only are you psychologically setting yourself up for, the next thing that you're going to do with a limiting belief, but you're also impacting your immune system and your body. And people need to understand that trauma is a real thing. I mean, we definitely have experiences that causes psychological harm, but you have to get over it. It's got a place, and you have to cycle through and you have to work with it. You have to make an effort to really do what you need to do and get the assistance you need to get in order to get over it, because it has long-term effects on your emotional wellness, but most importantly, your physical wellness. And those two things are like working together.
that's again, I'm gonna wrap this segment here, everybody, and I'll recap this. Allison McClintick's with us. Enlightenment involves awareness. As Allison was saying about cycling through, and I wrote down balance. We have to find that balance. We have to figure it out, because trauma is going to hit. It is absolutely a guarantee. Guaranteed. Something is going to happen that is going to knock you goofy. And if you're not stable, if you've got 3 legs of your 4-legged stool or chair or table or whatever, and you rock that bad boy, that thing's going to tip over. And that's the way it works. We come back. I love these kind of conversations. And Allison McClintick is just the bomb. Enlightenment involves awareness. You're listening to the Tom Mann Show. Boom.
Mic drop.
Yeah, it's easy. It's just like, let's just do this.
It's fun
thing.
stuff. I could do this all day.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And you have, it's like Angela. I don't even with her. We don't even develop a thread for the topic. I mean, it's just like,
Oh yeah.
we don't need to, because there's
Yeah.
just so much. I'm going to go
You
into,
know,
I want to get over.
Angela and I used to have, I used to have a radio show on the Michigan Business Network, and Angela was my co-host for a while.
Was she? I don't think she
Yep.
ever told me that, or if she did, it's
Yeah,
been.
she might have forgotten. I mean, it happened like she wasn't on every week, but she would come on every other week, and we used to just talk about all kinds of stuff. And
Oh
at the
yeah.
Michigan Business Network, they were like, "Wrap it up."
But it was very, very odd how we met. And it was just crazy because she was referred to me by someone at my department at MSU, and I was reading a book on energy vampires, and I just had interviewed this woman, this big doctor who was out in California. She's a psychiatrist, and she called herself the energy vampire doctor, something. And I caught my eye. And then when I interviewed her and I got her book, it was like, wow, she's really, really sharp. Well, I reached out to Angela, and she had been just following this. She knew of this woman.
Mhm.
And so we actually connected that same night. She met us for dinner, and she said, I never do this kind of stuff. And I said, neither do I. It's just like that we got brought together for this really just bizarre thing happened. And the whole thing with, what the hell was that lady's name? Judith something. And, real famous lady. And I mean, it was a decent interview, but it was just kind of the way the whole thing lined up. It's just
Yeah.
like energy thing. And her and I had this like an hour-long conversation, and we didn't even know each other. We
Yeah.
had never spoke. It was, pretty amazing. So, and we've become
That's what
very
happens when you get two well-read people together. You
well.
don't need a topic. You could just go.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, and there's because of where I'm going to go with the silos and the polarization here. I'm going to lead into your bullet point 3 here. Let me do this read and we'll get going here. How's your time? You good?
Mhm.
Okay. Here we go. Fourth segment of the Tom Mann Show is sponsored by Brock. 3 guys that sponsor this show, all of our work. 3 great people. They have great teams. They have great women that work with them. They are just wonderful groups. I mean, it's amazing. And again, full disclosure with Brock Fletcher of the selling team of Keller Williams Realty. He assisted us in selling Big House Holt. He helped us with Mike Dedman, our buyer's agent. How you doing, Mikey? To buy Little House Lansing, where I'm recording this episode today, where our studio is. It's awesome. Fantastic experience with Brock. He is the guy. He is the guy who will help you make good decisions. He will help you navigate the reality of real estate. As a matter of fact, that's why we do these segmented. We have our sponsors on quarterly so that you can get more information from them, and it doesn't cost you anything. If you want to just listen or watch the video, go right ahead at our website, TomMannShow.com. You can call Brock. Here's the office number, 853-6408. His cell phone number is 517-303-3262. You can text him. You can leave him a voicemail. He will return your call. You can go to kwsellingteam.com. All of our sponsors and guests are they're easily found, very easily found. Sell your home without hassles like we did. Get advice for free, like we had our former neighbor get and sold his house in 2 weeks. I had no idea that Brock was going to get the listing. That was not the point. The point was Mike, our former neighbor, had got a job offer. It was just after COVID when things were still crazy, and they wanted to get out. And so I turned him on to Brock. And guess what? And this is a true story. $20,000 over what? When Mikey came over here and asked me, I think, because I asked him, I said, what are you going to get? What do you want to get for your house? And he told me, wound up getting 20 grand more. That's because he had a good realtor. And Allison can testify to that because she's been in that business too. I mean, when you have people that know what they're talking about, as Allison just said during break, well-read, knowledgeable people, you can put your trust in them because they know what they're doing. All right. So let's talk about more of what Allison McClintick knows and what she does. Enlightenment involves awareness. Your third point, take care of your stuff. I had written down silos because we're both reading the Dr. Phil book right now, and he is just cutting it to the bone. I mean, and I have not done the podcast yet with Joe Rogan, which I will do. Allison turned me on to that. But let's kind of frame it up around there. Taking care of your stuff,
Yep.
the silos, you're either with me or against me kind of stuff. Take it from
Yeah.
there. Go ahead.
Well, again, remember my platform is how do we find peace? This is, I think, what everybody's after. And I think one of the things that I see the most in my coaching business and then, in reality, just reality today out in the world, especially on social media, is everybody is pointing a finger at somebody else as to why they feel bad or they don't believe in my construct and they're pushing another construct on somebody. Your emotional wellness and your emotional life is your responsibility. It is absolutely, you got to take care of your own stuff. If you're not feeling well on the inside, there ain't nothing you're going to do on the outside that is going to fill that void if you are not addressing your own emotional wellness. And that's involved in the way that you're perceiving constructs, the way that you're buying into these things, the way that you're managing the trauma or shoving the trauma under the rug that you have. We have a tendency, to want to point a finger at someone or something else and say, this is the reason for my problem. And if you don't do X, I won't be happy. And that's baloney. You have to take care of your own stuff. And I think that Dr. Phil's book, especially, is kind of talking a lot about that as everybody's shifting accountability onto everything and everyone else, clamoring, raging, looking for solutions, looking to feel better. It will not happen that way. And I think we just could have a whole show about some of the stuff in society that is a perfect example of that, although it's a little dicey, so it's probably worth just skipping. But
I don't think
I think
let me interrupt you
I
there.
think everybody knows what we're talking about. I mean, there's a million things we could pick.
We're not
So,
afraid to go down that you could call it the walk the plank kind of thing. I personally,
yeah,
I'm reading Dr. Phil and I'm seeing what's happening in our country, in our society, in our culture. It's like I have two grandchildren now. I have two daughters. I have a wife. I have lots of students that we work with. We need to leave this place in a better spot than where we found it and where we're at now. And as I'm listening to you again, I want to let you talk, but emotional intelligence and then the victimhood. I
yeah.
mean, please
Well,
please talk about emotional because you're going down that road of taking care
yeah.
of your stuff, emotional life, emotional responsibility. Again, how do we encourage people to have better emotional intelligence?
Oh gosh. Well, I think number one, we
Another
have
whole
to,
show.
yeah, the whole show and all of human history. I think mainly what we need to do is, again, we need to be responsible and accountable for our own lives. We have to take the bull by the horns and say, I understand that I don't feel great and that it's nobody else's business but mine. I mean, you can have someone who could do egregious things to you, but you still do not have to let your internal landscape be destroyed as a result of it. I mean, Viktor Frankl, who wrote Man's Search for Meaning, right? He was in the Holocaust, in Auschwitz, I guess it was. I can't remember which camp, but I think it was that one. And he basically learned that you can take everything from a man, every single thing from a person, but you cannot take away their power to think and construct and do what they're going to do on the inside. And when he realized that, he was not thriving by any means, but he was surviving. And when he tried to teach that to his fellow prisoners, the ones that embraced that were the ones that were making it. And the ones that played the victim entirely, which is a perfect example of how you could easily do that. I mean, there is no better example of a victim than that. They're the ones that didn't do as well or passed away. So it's this idea that you are accountable for what's happening in there. And that if you want to change your circumstance, you have to change your mind. And it's really comes down to that simple piece of it. And what everybody's doing now is we're upholding and we're applauding and we're glorifying mental and emotional unwellness, and then trying to find scapegoats. It's not going to work because that goes against the human spirit. That goes against everything of highly conscious sentient beings know about power and about, free will. You can't pin all of your problems on something and somebody else. But that's what we're doing in this society right now, is we're saying if you don't feel good, and it might be an emotional or psychological issue, we're going to hold you up and say you're right to feel this way, and everyone should bend to your lack of balance. And that's just not how it works. I mean, show me where that's worked anywhere. It just doesn't. And it doesn't make sense. Dr. Phil calls it nonsensical a lot, especially in the podcast. And it's a word that people don't love, but it's very true. It makes no sense, not psychological sense, not physical sense, not biological sense, not sociological sense. It makes no sense whatsoever. But some of these things make political sense, so
It really comes down to money. And I mean, the tyranny of
yeah.
the loudest or whatever he called it. But the one fact that I keep coming up to with Dr. Phil's book and the things we're talking about with this victimhood is so many, and they are a very small minority, and everyone knows that. Everyone knows that these very hyper personalized shout groups or whatever the heck you want to call them. And
Yeah,
I
statistically,
could I
the
could use
tiny.
my language here if I wanted to. But the problem is people are being way too passive, and we're just accepting
Mhm.
because you want to get called out, which nobody wants to get the fingers pointed. I mean, I don't mind, you don't mind, but for the most
Right.
part, people just they want to just live their lives.
Well, they're reenacting the Maslow's hierarchy, right? Is that fear of survival. And so they've created a society where they're pulling on that foundational need. People are terrified to say something because they'll be canceled or they'll have their livelihood taken from them. There's no better, it's like psychological warfare. There's no better way to get people to comply, to shut up and comply by threatening to take everything from them. So good people and strong people otherwise are trying, to kind of like distance themselves from the conversation or to get involved because of there's just too great a risk, at stake. But I think with Dr. Phil and Joe Rogan and some of these other people, and with Tom, with what you're doing, there are people who are willing to say, listen, we do need to wake up. We need to wake up, which is my first little bullet.
Well, we'll come back. We'll come back to this, and we're going to finish the show, everybody, with doing the work. Allison McClintick's my guest today. It's a wonderful opportunity to see her again and talk to her. Definitely going to become more of a regular on the show because we're going down the same path and we have to help each other get better. And that's what we're about. We'll get Allison's contact info right out of break here, everybody. Enlightenment involves awareness. Again, Allison McClintick's my guest today. You're listening to the Tom Matt Show. Boom. Last segment. Easy. Yeah, you're definitely got to be more regular.
Oh
You're
man, I would love it. I love these
just
kinds
you
of
sound
things.
sound great. We have a connect. We've always had a connection, and so it's like, and your audio, everything is just spot on. So it's just
Oh,
like
good.
this is easy. Oh yeah, you're gonna like the way we do this now. The little system I have, I'm still working on it, getting my video skills up, and I'm getting to the point where I'm serviceable. I do what I do, but we have this unbelievable virtual assistant who's been helping us, Vanessa. I'll mention her name, and I've turned her on to a couple of people, but I don't really want to lose her to too much work. And we're one of her main clients, although we only pay her for 2 hours a day. But she does so much, and she's so good at the video and all of the stuff that you see. I told you that on the phone.
Yeah.
She's very creative, and now I take the excerpt videos. I do my initial big cuts, put a couple of things on them, and then I send them to her so she could do the final polishing. And having two heads looking at these videos, it turned out way better. So you'll see. All right, I'm gonna throw it to you right out of break here after I do my plug our website, and then just if you got all your stuff, all your contact info, everything you want to plug. Okay,
Sure.
here we go. Fifth segment of the Tom Matt Show is where we talk about contacting them, where our guest shares their contact information, where I share our contact information, tommattshow.com, which I've mentioned multiple times throughout the show. There's so much there. We put a lot of energy into that website that we've had now for 13, 14 years. And it's just always been an evolution. And it's always about helping people find that thing that they need, because we're really diverse here. I don't know what you need. That's the way I always framed up our business here. That's why we have 12 category topics on the radio show, because we want to keep it fresh and diverse, and from DIY stuff to Alzheimer's, dementia, to leadership with Allison McClintick. And so tommattshow.com is where you can find all of the episodes. Reality Real Estate is there. Financial Fitness is there. Law Talk is there. All of it. Spartan Sagas. Just go check it out. Find our TikTok. Be aware, if you go to TikTok or some on Instagram, Facebook, when you see the hashtag Dad Talks, if you get a little upset with language, you might want to avoid it, because I get a little bit tiny salty on there, and it's for a reason and a purpose, because you got to drive home the message. And I get really passionate about this, just like my guest today, Allison McClintick, is very, very passionate. That's why we get along so well. She's extremely passionate about helping others bust out of this funk that we're in, this silos, all of this stuff. Before we go there, though, Allison, we finish the thread with doing the work. Throw it out there. People are dying to hear how they can get a hold of you, hire you, get you to do some coaching, whatever you're doing now. It's always about refiring. It's always about recreating what you do. So go ahead. Tell everybody
Yeah.
what you do and how they would get a hold of you.
Yeah, sure. So I have two ways that I serve the community. So my background educationally, formally, with all kinds of stuff, all the things you need is in leadership science and leadership executive coaching and consulting. So I have a 72-hour program I've put into a coaching program. So it's intensive, it's comprehensive, it'll knock your socks off. And then just one-to-one coaching if you'd rather do that kind of thing. And if you want to do some personal stuff, you can do that too. I like to have conversations with people, so I don't do a lot on social media, but you can find me at AllisonMcClintick.com, or you can text me at 248-897-1038. Let's have a conversations, free consult. I'll spend as much time as we need to find out what you need and how you want to do it.
You know what? And when a guest throws their phone number out there during a radio broadcast, video podcast, you know they're legit, because there's no
Not
fear.
worried about it.
Exactly. She's not worried about it. And she
No.
knows, she ruffles feathers. That's what you want. You want somebody who's going to be straight. That's how I am with my coaching. When I coach people now, and I don't charge for my coaching. Maybe I should. I get a lot of intrinsic value out of my coaching, and I keep it very, very small, tight group of people that I work with. But I tell people, just like Allison will tell you, I am going to be in your grill. I have one
Right.
speed and one speed only, and that's Tom speed. And that's that. And I'm all about honesty and truth. And if I catch you one time bending the truth, not telling me the straight story, we're done. And that's the
Yeah.
way it works. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, I'm sure Allison is the same way. I'm sure she will call you out if you're going to.
Oh, yes.
I'm sure that's happened a few times, hasn't it?
Oh, yes.
Well, let's talk about that, because that leads right into doing the work. I mean, what did you mean by that? I know what you meant, but for the listeners out there, and so you can expand on this whole concept of the achieving internal peace. You've had wake up, get over it, take care of your stuff, but now it comes to the lift. You got to do
Mhm.
the freaking lift.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And a lot of people will avoid that. I mean, they think people come to me and they come to a lot of different, psychologists or whoever it is that they're seeking to for support or whatever. They think they're ready, and I applaud that. But a lot of times people are not as ready as they think they are, because doing the work means you got to get uncomfortable. It doesn't feel good to be looking at some of this stuff. And so I think that there's this misunderstanding about enlightenment or waking up. You think that enlightenment's supposed to be like so zen and you're meditating and it feels amazing and you feel God and it's, can I say it sucks. Actually, enlightenment, the process of it sucks because it can really hurt. It can be really uncomfortable. And you have to be really ready to do that. because it's so tempting to kind of kick when we get uncomfortable, kick all that stuff under the rug and just say, oh, that can't be it. It can't be me. It can't really be the way I'm believing the stuff that I have held on to. It can't really be my emotions. It's really got to be somebody else, or it's because of this. And it's like, you're the only one, you're the problem and the solution. You're the only one that can really change your state of mental and emotional wellness. And you've got to do the work. And so I think that there are a lot of people. I mean, you could ask Angela next week. I'm sure you've got people who you've worked with and never saw again. Maybe I'm not your flavor. That's cool too. But um, there are a lot of psychologists who are very nurturing people who will have patients who don't come back because they just are confronted with a truth about their own, emotional state and what they're choosing and all that. And then they just don't want to go there. It hurts. It sucks. And you've got to be ready. You've got to be ready to do it. So do the work because you can't get you can't get better without doing the work. And just if you know off the bat, it's going to be uncomfortable at times. Once you get over that hump, there's no better feeling because you become untouchable to a certain extent. I mean, again, talk about Angela Joseph. Everybody watch her shows. She's untouchable. That woman's untouchable for the most part because she's done so much of the work. Um, and so, I think that that's kind of all encompassing what we talked about with you and how we're willing to do and say what we need to say. We're untouchable because we've done the work and we know what's real and what isn't.
I love that you are the problem and the solution. And earlier in the show, Allison was talking about being an accountability freak. One of my favorite words in the world is accountability. I've used
Hmm.
it thousands of times because frankly, I had to become accountable for myself first. That's the thing. That's what Allison was just talking about. Because when you become accountable to yourself, it's like nirvana.
Yes.
It's like freedom, right? Isn't that right, Allison? I mean, you become
Yes.
free because you don't have to worry about laying down the bull crap all the time.
Well, and
I'm
you realize that you're the one in control.
exactly.
You're the one that actually controls this. When you realize that your constructs and the things that you believe about the world, which everything in life is a construct, and when you know that, and you realize I've bought into this, or I've rejected this, or I bought into that, you all of a sudden realize you're like the captain of your own ship. If you want to believe something, you just have to simply work to do it. If you want to take something out of existence in your storage unit of belief constructs, you can just take it out. But you got to do the work. It's consistency, it's honesty, it's curiosity, it's all that stuff. And nobody else can do it for you, and it's nobody else's fault. I don't care what's happened to you. You're the captain. Make it happen.
Exactly. I mean, the whole thing with children. And if you have children, you know exactly what I'm talking about here. And if you don't have children, then maybe you can go mentor some other young people. They need our assistance with this, but you have to be the stand-up example. And
Yes.
Bill's talking about that in his book as well. And that's one thing that I'm going to be doing with my 65 to 35 campaign that I'm going to start here in a few months. It's like I know what I want to do. I want to do and lead and be there for my family. And every single day, everybody, every single day is a gift. There's no guarantee for diddly
Right.
crap.
That's
So
right.
if you want to have your kids be successful, if you want to be successful, start working on you and show them the behaviors that you want them to emulate because they've got a million things going on. We got 3 minutes to go here. And
Yeah.
Allison, I'd like for you to kind of comment on that because doing the work on yourself translates into your children. Would you agree with
100%.
that?
Yeah, because I think once you start realizing what you have constructed, then you realize how you've bought into certain things that you act out every day. When you all of a sudden, I call it like I just say sort of like a peeling off. You're the witness now. You've got the context, you've got beliefs, you've got the world, and then your consciousness sort of peels off and looks at everything from this third dimension. You're able to walk around it. It's actually called subject object thinking versus subject subject thinking. But it's a way to think. It's where you peel off the context and you look all around it, kind of like a scientist would to something in a petri dish. If you want to really think objectively, you've got to be able to look at something all angles, right? When you do that, you start to realize that you're projecting those things onto your kids. And then you realize, well, wait a minute, maybe I've never actually looked at my child as an individual with their own personality and their own beliefs. And maybe I don't even know who my child actually is because I've been looking at them as an extension of myself. I've been pushing XYZ on them and I don't even know how they feel about anything. You just start to realize that you're going to be more careful about how you communicate a particular thing. Maybe you're now going to ask them to think about it critically, or you ask them questions. What do they think about something? Once you become the witness to your own belief constructs and your own thoughts, you then realize that you're pushing those things onto other people all the time without taking a pause to intentionally communicate to them. So, whether it's your mother or your child or your neighbor, you just don't think the same way about how you're projecting your own thoughts onto somebody else's life.
I don't know where else we can go with this except let's invite her back and do a whole nother show on thinking objectively. I may even have Angela talk about that as the title of the next episode with her, because these are the types of souls, and Allison McClintick and Angela Joseph, all of our sponsors, Craig, Brock, Jamie, everyone that comes on this radio program, we're all walking in lockstep, and that's a good thing. If our show fits your business or group's mission, we want to be of service to you through our guests like Allison McClintick. Allison, give us that phone number one more time real quick, and then I'm going to close this thing.
Sure. AllisonMcClintick.com or 248-897-1038.
There you go. Always remember, before you can share love with others, you must love yourself first. Thanks again to Allison for being with us. Sandy, Craig, Brock, Jamie, all the students that have worked with us. We'll talk to you next weekend, everybody. Have a great week. Go out and ignite your life. Remember, the Tom Matt Show is a production of Boomers Rock Media. We want to bring your story to life. And lastly, thank you to Mitch Anderson, our producer. We're out. Made it.
Made it. That was cool.
It's great. It's easy stuff. I knew it would be. And so, yeah, let's get you rebooked. I mean, as soon as we
Yeah,
can, we
that'd be
order
great.
this thing. Yeah, for sure. I mean, green light on all this stuff, and anything you want to do. If you want to send me if you want to send me your banner, if you want to, we could put that on the website and have that, because we have a service that helps us with the website. We got rid of the real expensive website people and found somebody way better for way
Yeah.
cheaper. And so if you want that up there, if that's something that might help you, sure, go right ahead. We'll send that over.
Okay. I don't really have too much marketing stuff. I've got like a logo.
Yeah,
That's
well,
it.
if you just want to send us the banner, or however the projection from that, um, get a banner done. I mean, they're cheap, and just get it done, and we'll throw it up on the website, and then you never know. People click through and away you go. But thumbs up, double thumbs up on you. And now that we're back in the groove again, let's make sure this happens regularly. And
Yeah.
I'll send you the marketing. What I have is like a marketing letter that I send out now with all the links to every little piece, Instagram, TikTok, all that stuff, the YouTube stuff, and break it all down and share it out. That's how it works.
Yeah.
That's the way it works, and it's just like, promote your stuff because it helps all of us. So thank you so
Yeah.
much. And so
Yeah.
glad.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. And I'm looking forward to getting a hold of Angela here and talking to her. And
Yeah. She'll say
I
very
don't,
similar things.
oh yeah, I don't think, oh, for sure. And you guys are like clones. I mean, I swear to God. And I don't think that your name may have come up with her, and I don't know if it has or not. And
Yeah.
I'm gonna shock her when I tell her, hey, guess,
Yeah.
because the next episode I'm gonna do the thing, hey, last week, and she's gonna be surprised, but I'm gonna get a hold of her
Yeah.
before
I did a lot of work with her for a lot of years. She was
she's
kind of
good.
my mentor. Yeah, and she really was. I really just went there just to sit and talk with her, so I would pay her so I could just sit there and talk
Yeah,
about stuff that was interesting to me, and she really helped me a lot in kind of get over that hump,
yeah.
with certain things, and yeah,
Yeah.
she's very cool. She's
She's
got a
very
lot.
cool, and she's just an awesome soul. And so I will be talking to her soon, and I will be in touch with you. Reach out anytime, anytime. All
Yeah,
right.
well, let me know when you want to try again, and I can work around pretty much anything. We're on vacation at the next week for a week, but
Well,
um,
now that you know how how we do the show, the dated version of it. Now it's easy. It's just like we show up, we do the Zoom thing. We can do these whenever. 12 o'clock usually works. Usually I block off the mornings for my gym time. And I'm I'm a stickler for that. I've told people I don't, I don't bend that. That's something
Yeah.
that I've established as part of my job is to work
Mm-hmm.
on me. And no offense to people. I have one guest, and that's a sponsor, Jamie, who we usually do a morning episode with because that's the only time I can get him. And that's understandable. And he's a sponsor. So that's fine. I just work around it. It's only quarterly. But for the most part, I do not
Yeah.
deviate from my workout
I don't
schedule.
either. I have a morning routine also that I
Got it.
don't deviate from.
You got to stay on it. And I'm telling you that book that I was mentioning about with Dr. Mitch, the dementia prevention book, it's more of a playbook about behaviors. It's more people need to start reading this like when they're 35
Yeah.
because the compounding effects of all of these poor choices. That's why I'm so on top of my game. It's like, well, at this point for me, it's like I almost look like it's borrowed time. So I'm very grateful for that. So it's like, well, make up for it. Do
Yeah.
more
Right.
work so that you get better. And how far can I raise the bar for Tom? And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I haven't hit the top yet. And I'm still trying. It's
Right.
like, we'll just keep climbing. Just keep
Mm-hmm.
getting
Well,
better every
yeah.
day.
Because research shows, right, that if you don't keep your brain challenged and it just starts to die. I mean, so like that's what's happening with my mom because she's got early onset dementia, but there's nothing wrong with her brain scans. There's absolutely nothing in it. But she drinks like 8 ounces of liquid a day. She probably eats less than 600 calories and she does nothing new. So her brain's like shrinking and,
Yeah.
there's nothing physically wrong with her.
That just comes down to choices. People have to make
Yeah.
better choices. So, and you can't force things on people. So if they choose to do whatever you suggest, great. If they don't,
Yeah.
great.
Which they
Like
don't.
when I
Not in
meet
my family.
when I meet with students, I tell them you can reach out to me or not. It's fine. Either way,
Mm,
no hard feelings because
right.
I got lots going on. So
Yeah,
anyway,
well, thank you for your time. And
pleasure.
then you'll send me a link, right? So, because I'll put it
Oh,
on LinkedIn and
I'll send you the whole it's just an email with about 5 or 6 different links to everything.
okay.
So you'll see.
Okay.
You'll like it. Okay. Thank
Cool. And then yeah, just let me know when you want me back on and I can pretty
you.
much do anything.
I will. And maybe we'll do maybe I'll talk to Angela and we'll the next time we'll have the three of us because I can do a three-way as well.
Yeah,
And that that gets a little squirrely, but
could
anything's
be
possible.
done.
Can be done for sure. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you.
See ya.
All righty.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Allison McClintick was the story with Allison. First time I ever interviewed her way back in the day. And I asked her because I knew she was a leadership expert and so smart. She's so smart. And I asked her what was the secret of motivation. I'm reading books and psychology books on motivation. She looked at me and she said, Tom, and this is kind of an old story. I may have mentioned this before. If I have, forgive me. But she said, Tom, motivation is intrinsic from your heart. She said, you inspire people, referring to me as with the stuff that we do. So you inspire people to become motivated. Think about that for a second, because it's a fact. And I've learned so much from these guests and everything we do. And when the 65-35 campaign comes out, you're going to see what I'm talking about because it's coming. And be ready. Next time, everybody, have a great week. We'll talk to you. Peace out. Love you all. Papa Tom, hitting the road. We're done.